3 months of thrills and agony, triumph and heartbreak, mastery and memes have led to one of the world's greatest wonders, playoff football, where legends are immortalized, where heroes of old and new make their mark, where Locata reaches its apex. These playoffs will be quite unique. The Chiefs are not in the fray. He will have at the very least a new king of the AFC, but in their absence, an old evil returns, and 13 other franchises look to make their mark on the Lombardi. Who's it gonna be?
Well, here we are, year 2 of the Harbaugh era of the Chargers. You are in the playoffs. To make it interesting, you made it instead of the Chiefs. How nice of you. But it's not that easy. You have to go against the Patriots. You have to deal with every narrative that has been in your way ever since your team has been folded into the NFL. Even dating back to Rivers, even dating back to Dan Fouts. But here's the thing. There is a chance. You have a chance to avenge yourselves after that disaster of a game where the dirty bubble abducted Harbaugh. A chance to turn what if into when we do. A chance for Harbaugh to redeem himself in the big game. A chance for the Chargers to finally lift away years of pain and error and anguish and agony and whatever negative words that follow or precede that, and finally win that long-awaited Lombardi. Do it, Los Angeles! Make those bastard Rams regret the day they left St. Louis and tried to step on your turf! You are Southern California's team now, and don't let anybody think otherwise! Wait a second. Trustman's still here. And that means if the Chargers win the Super Bowl, oh God, no!
Getting real tired of these reruns you're putting on. Constant opportunities to emerge as one of the true elites of the NFL, and yet always getting in your own damn way to remain the eternal understudy. The AFC's Luigi stuck in the shadow of the champions they've been slain by. On the surface, this is the best chance the Bills have had. More than any other team in the field, Buffalo doesn't have to fret Mahomes haunting them this time. If Buffalo locks in, their Super Bowl path is as clear as it's ever been. But that's the issue. This Bills team has taken a massive step back from seasons past, and they have been their own worst enemies, somehow even more than they usually are. The offense for Buffalo is Josh Allen and James Cook. If Josh Allen isn't Superman every week and James Cook isn't imitating Usain Bolt on every running play, this team era 404 is over and over again. It's the same damn thing as last year, doing jack shit in the first half and then requiring superhuman efforts in the second half to escape with wins. It didn't even pay off as it has before because the Patriots ended up reclaiming the division throne this year. If there is one thing that has been made abundantly clear, it's that Sean McDermott is professional football's James Franklin. His accolades of bringing Buffalo from mediocrity to a genuine force have been overshadowed by his complete inability to win when it truly matters the most. The third wheel to the Chiefs and Patriots. At least the Chiefs aren't here to torment you this season, but look who is. Your old boogeyman in New England. And if they manage to make the Super Bowl, or God forbid, win it while you continue to drown in your blood from the cuts to your own legs, you are not going to live that down for the next half decade at least. It feels like it's not a matter of if, but when the Bills find a way to end their season in devastating fashion by this point. To be fair, that's not much different from the rest of their history. They're an interesting specimen, to say the least. They're better than last year for sure, but they're still somehow just as infuriating. In most worlds, this is a top 3 team in the league. Absolutely a top 2 most resilient, too. Most teams would have completely folded with the injuries Houston sustained, but somehow Davis the Camel Neck Mills saved their season. This defense is fucking insane. The entire defensive line is a wall of Bobby Boucher's. Pressures, sacks, and car crash hits every other play. If the opponent does manage to get a playoff, then the secondary has Stingley, Petrie, and Lassiter ready to make them regret it at a moment's notice. not a single game allowing 30 points until the backups came in during the final game. The best defensive unit the Texans have ever had and one of the finest in the league in the last 15 years. But of course, that offense continues to be a serious problem. Not as bad as last year, but that's a really low bar. Kaylee's unit is still as predictable as the plot of a Hallmark movie. Find a person who loves you as much as Kaylee loves runs up the middle on first down. The offensive line still can't pick up a blitz, and Stroud still can't make an accurate throw when the pressure comes. Nico Collins is not getting nearly as many targets as he should, even though he's been Stroud's number one guy since the start. Long story short, this offense keeps letting opponents back in games. If this offense can be even average, the Texans are a legitimate Super Bowl contender. There have been flashes of a much better group throughout the year compared to last season's disaster, but they can only make it far if they can put it all together. The same questions that circled them in the preseason remain in the playoffs. Maybe they can be something different this time though. Please just get past the divisional round at least. There's another Texas team that's already taking the spotlight doing the same thing.
The standard is the standard. If it wasn't for the NFC South being such a shit show, everyone would be laughing their ass off at this division and how awful it was this season. Put literally any other team in the playoffs outside of the Panthers, and someone makes it out of this with 14 wins. And the funniest part, too, is when Lamar and Burrow went down, people were saying that the Steelers were automatically going to win this division. Most people thought this division was locked up by week 6. But of course, the Steelers played down to competition and turned the division that was a shoo-in and literal slam dunk to win into a fucking YouTube challenge run where they tried to win by doing absolutely nothing. And the funniest part is, it worked. They did it. They were Luigi, who won by doing absolutely nothing. This team is fucking hilarious. They're not even bad. They have a fairly solid roster, all things considered. Rodgers has been the best Steelers quarterback they've had this decade. They've had a fantastic run game with Gainwell and Warren, despite what the yardage says, and they've both been good and consistent throughout the year. DK Metcalf and whatever white guy of the week from 2021 between Scotty Miller and Adam Thielen have also done their job well. And the defense that was being mocked for being one of the highest paid defenses and not doing shit have rebounded after their terrible start at the beginning of the season. They did what they needed to do, and they just got TJ Watt back after the doctors Tyrod tailored him. They made the dance and deserve to be here, and yet at the same time, no one feels like they should. They did everything that they should do to make the fucking dance, and yet they don't. This team is inconsistency personified, because unlike another team in the playoffs, they could beat anyone in the AFC, and they have the talent and coaching to back it up. And yet at the same time, they feel insanely mismatched by everyone else in the AFC. It feels like they're playing in the 2000s where you could win with Rex Grossman and go to the Super Bowl. I guess in this case, the Rex Grossman on this team being literally the entire offensive identity and coaching process, while everyone else is playing in 2026. I get it's a cop-out to say Magic Beans is what got them here, but who else has a reasonable explanation as to why the Pittsburgh Steelers deserve to be here, other than everyone else was terrible? This team didn't just go to 9-8 Super Bowl, they went to 10-7 Super Bowl. 3 straight years of 10-7 football. You gotta love it. Glory to Aaron Rodgers. Glory to Mike Tomlin. This team is a fucking joke, all things considered. And everyone is just waiting for the next punchline. Are they gonna bomb the crowd and everyone's gonna give up on them against Houston in Pittsburgh? Or are they gonna have the rapid-fire jokes to get them all the way to Santa Clara? All I know is that at the end of the day, the Steelers are going to the Super Bowl 100%. They're just going to have to buy the tickets. And with the economy right now, that's going to be pretty rough. Duval. The rebound this Jags team has had since starting 5-4 has been truly incredible and amazing. After the big man touchdown in Houston, it seems as if Jacksonville was going to be one of those teams who either just barely missed the cut going into the playoffs, or even if they did make the playoffs, they were going to get bounced in the first round. But sprinkle in a collapsing Colts team and the Texans starting off slow as well, somehow this team has found a way to win the AFC South for the first time since 2022 and have their best record in their franchise since 1999. This team has its flaws, don't get me wrong. When Trevor's been inconsistent, the offense sputters and has been able to get out of some situations, but not always. They're a little bit hobbled on the offense as well without guys like Travis Hunter. But outside of that, this team goes as far as Trevor will take it. Liam Cohen has been a great coach so far for this team, but this season has been defined by Trevor and his play. I would be remiss, though, to not mention the fact that Travis Etienne has bounced back from a very bad year last year to become one of the damn solid running backs going into the postseason this year. Also, let's mention Bayshawn Tootin for coming out as well. Not to mention, some credit needs to go to this defense as well, as they have been playing lights out and the best they have been since the Saxonville days, with guys like Devin Lloyd making the case to be one of the best linebackers this year, and fellow linebacker Foyesade Oluokun being a guy that's constantly getting tackles this year. A big addition with Greg Newsome early in the season. Andrew Wingard having one of his best seasons of his career, alongside him on the other safety side, Antonio Jackson. The oddest part about this defense is that the pass rush has been the worst part. But they still have guys like Josh Hines-Allen, Trayvon Walker on the edge, and Arik Armstrong as a good cork in the middle. People may write off Jacksonville saying that their second half schedule was too easy, that they didn't play anyone considering they had the Titans twice, the Colts without Daniel Jones twice, and teams like the Jets and Cardinals. All I have to say to that is, tell me what teams went into Denver this season and beat them by multiple possessions. What team beat the LA Chargers by 26 points this year in a very dominant fashion? This team can beat good teams, and it shows. Whatever issues they had are gone going into the playoffs as one of the hottest teams. And they're going in firing on all cylinders. All Duval has to do is handle business, and that might be enough to get them a Lombardi back in Jacksonville. You guys know the scene from Megamind where Titan goes from, it's under new order? That's the New England Patriots right now. It seems like they've picked up where they left off, and absolutely nothing has changed from the last time. Drake May has been playing at an MVP level. Ramondre Stevens and Travion Henderson have become a force as a running back duo. The Patriots wide receiver room is doing just fine. Just don't look at him. Yes, we know him. We're not bringing that up. We could even look at the defense and look at the defensive line, and nope, we're just going to focus on the secondaries because of guys like Christian Gonzalez leading that team to being one of the best defenses in the NFL currently. Not to mention, too, none of this really happens without someone like Mike Vrabel. A guy that was shipped off from Tennessee because of a power struggle has now turned one of the saddest franchises over the last couple of years that was coming off a dynasty and going like 5-12 back into 14-13 win territory again. The turnaround that Mike Vrabel has been insane, and not to mention too, Josh McDaniels is a good coordinator. I must keep in mind, coordinator. Do not let him become a head coach in NFL again. Now, the main thing for the Patriots is there's going to be a lot of questions about the teams they played and how they've looked. The Patriots have had a paper-soft schedule. They have not played that many good teams, and that is very clear. However, they have been blowing bad teams out, which is just as good as beating a good team. Because if you can blow bad teams out, more than likely you can beat good teams. Do I think they're probably going to get far? Hard to really predict, considering that this is a brand new staff, a brand new group of people, and we're not quite sure how we're going to do. But if you're the Patriots compared to last year, going from Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi to Drake May has been wonderful. At the end of the day, for the Patriots, they're looking for the Super Bowl because that's the New England culture. Will they get there? Who knows? But if they do get there, there might be a new empire coming back. And this time, it's led by a 40-year-old and not a 60-year-old. And in all honesty, that's quite terrifying. What is there to say about this team that makes me sound like I know what the fuck I'm talking about? They're just odd. Denver's good, no doubt, but I have a hard time trying to decide how good this team really is. I suppose I could just start off with talking about the stuff that I know is elite, and one of those said elite things is his pass rush. Nick Bonito, Zach Allen, Jonathan Cooper, John Franklin Myers, hell, even a guy like Malcolm Roach is making this pass rush extremely deadly. If you think you have time to throw the football, one of those guys are gonna say no. Not to mention, too, they're great at defending the run as well, second best in the league. Mostly, that's thanks to guys like Justin Stannard and Alex Singleton, but shoutouts to those guys, too. This pass rush is what's been the main thing as to why this defense has been really, really good. The funniest part about this defense is that the secondary is the weakest point. But you want to know the funniest part? If you're saying Patrick Surtain, Jaquan McMillan, and Talalonga Fuanga are the weakest points of your team, I think that's a good weak point to have. Also, I would be remiss to not bring up Riley Moss, not only because he's a white cornerback, but he's been fine at points when he's not being targeted and bullied damn near every play. It's just offensively is where this team gets weird. Fantastic O-line. Some solid weapons too in Cortland Sutton and Troy Franklin, along with RJ Harvey being a great receiving back. But it feels like this team's identity as an offense has been missing since J.K. Dobbins got on IR. And then there's Bo Nix. Some weeks, Bo Nix looks great. Other weeks, he looks like he's the I'm just gonna get the job done kind of guy. And then others, he looks like the worst QB in the draft class. I suppose the best thing I can say about Bo Nix is if he plays like he usually does, Denver can get to the Super Bowl. With all the praise that I've been throwing so far, you may just be confused as to why I think Denver is odd. And it's because of one thing. If you watch them play, it just doesn't feel like their record matches their play. This team is the first seed in the AFC, but yet it doesn't even feel like they're the fourth best team in their own conference. They remind me much of the Chiefs last year, where they kept on finding ways to win one-score games. They're a good team. They can get there, they're just odd. And at the same time, they could make the dance, and it wouldn't surprise me at the same time if they get blown out, in the divisional after their bye week. They're hard to gauge. Bet on this horse race at your own risk. You don't want to end up like that one fish from Shark Tale after all. Talk about a season that went from amazing to abysmal in just a couple weeks' time. The Green Bay Packers started off this season as one of the hottest teams in the NFL, and excluding a couple of pumps in Cleveland, Dallas, Carolina, and Philly, this team to be poised to be very dominant moving forward. Unfortunately, the Micah Parsons injury happened, and it feels as if all the hope and life of this team has died, along with a lot of the fandom for many of the Green Bay faithful. And if you saw the Parsons-less Packers against Denver and the recent games against Chicago and Baltimore, you're starting to see why. However, I think it's very important that people don't doubt Green Bay going into the postseason. This is the Green Bay Packers. When have injuries stopped them? Jordan Love, or if Malik Willis is up somehow by the time this video goes up, have both been playing at the top of their game, and even with Josh Jacobs clearly not at 100%, Emmanuel Wilson has stepped up at times and played very well this year. And outside of a botched recovery against the Bears, Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, and Christian Watson are playmakers when they can get the ball. And let's not forget that Matt LaFleur and Jeff Hafley are two of the best play callers in their respective part of the games. This team can still find a way to outcoach you if you are not safe, unless you're on the special team side, in which Rich Bisaccia is their coordinator. I would hold on tight in that case. This team is still no sloucher. They can catch you off guard if you don't take them seriously. Granted, Jordan Love is going to have the game of his life all 4 games if he wants to win the Super Bowl. But if you're Green Bay, you've seen that he is capable of that. This team is still scary without a defense, and considering this team is basically playing with house money in the postseason with nothing to lose, they could give you a fright if you overlook them.
Wait, what? What the fuck? Wait, what? How are you here? I thought you were supposed to be dead. I thought we buried you in like 10 of your skill positions like a week ago, a year ago. How are you still here? Well, I guess that's just the power of odd year Shanahan shenanigans. I mean, shit, look at you. You got Brock Purdy wheeling and dealing like he's still at Iowa State. George Kittle proving why the 49ers wanted to keep him over literally everybody that left in the 2024 offseason. And Christian McCaffrey still making defenses his bitch. And, you know, your next man up mentality, that's still working for you. Need I remind you, you still have Mac Jones winning games. Mac Jones! How? How are you winning with this man? On paper, this should be a team that gets bounced in the wild card like a bad check. But considering the team keeps dancing through the fucking raindrops, I wouldn't put it past them to make it to the Super Bowl. Especially with this rate, with everybody all healthy again. What the hell? As always, the million-dollar question is whether or not that golden horseshoe planted directly at Kyle's rectum will last long enough to win the big one. My advice? Don't play with a lead going into the 4th. Oh, hang on a second. Gus Bradley's on this game? Oh, shit. All aboard the Gus bus.
At the beginning of the season, this team was looking unstoppable. A constant offensive onslaught of Matthew Stafford playing at an MVP level, Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams being a two-headed beast at wide receiver, the running back duo of Kyren and Corum running over everyone in the league they see fit, the defense remaining as strong and locking down opponents to single-digit points. Of course, they had a couple of bumps in the road like San Fran and Philly, but this team was a force to be reckoned with and respected. And not only respected, but feared. That team isn't in the playoffs right now. What we have is a team surrounded with issues, unable to get out of the negative spotlight. First, it was the Panthers game. The offense didn't work and the defense didn't work as well. But you know what? Everyone gets their one. Games like that happen. They rattle off 2 wins against a divisional opponent and the Lions fighting for their season. But then, strike 2 came against Seattle. Not to mention Puka Nacua's off-field occurrence, they completely choked the game away and let Seattle beat them on a walk-off 2-point conversion to Eric Sauberts. And then came the game in Atlanta, where the Falcons were seemingly very close to just giving the game away back to the Rams. But yet they never capitalized. Stafford had yet another bad game, and in games where Rams had all the opportunities to find ways to win and win the game, they found ways to lose instead. You can excuse that in the beginning of the season because many teams did that. Look at the Patriots against the Raiders. But weeks before the playoffs? Inexcusable. Not to mention, it took them 4 quarters to beat a 3-13 Arizona team with nothing to play for. I don't care that they won that game. They had nothing to play for, and that looked very, very sad. This team is nowhere near the juggernaut people thought they were at the start of the season. They're surrounded by controversy. They have a negative light shining on him. They're losing winnable games, playing down the competition, and in general looking weak going into the playoffs. Something to bring up too, this team has been 1-3 on the road this season against playoff teams. That's not good. And considering this team is a 5th seed going into the playoffs, they're not going to get a home playoff game anytime soon. one of two things will happen with the Rams this postseason. First one, they get their shit together and make it back to the Super Bowl for the first time since 2021. But the other is getting swept by the Carolina Panthers and finding flights leaving Charlotte to Cancun.
How creative can he be? He's got to go 10.
LMAO. Fucking Lamausers. I can't even hate on this team because in comparison as to where they were a few years ago, this is completely fantastic development for this team and their future. But let's just call a duck, and let's be honest here, this team isn't great. I'd barely call them good. They have good pieces and have strung together good moments this season, like wins against LA and Green Bay. But let's be completely honest here, this team is not ready for this moment. But you could suppose that this team could be playing with nothing to lose. And that comes out in their betterments. At the end of the day, this and maybe one more team in the playoffs can really say that they didn't expect to get this far this year. Plus, hey, you're going up against a team you already beat once before in the LA Rams. What's to say you just don't go up and do it again? I'll be fair and mention a few players that got him here. Derek Brown and J.C. Horn have been kind of the main reasons this defense has been going, but I would be remiss to not mention guys like Mike Jackson coming out of nowhere and getting 4 picks, along with Christian Roseblum being the perfect middle linebacker for this team, and both have been very solid pieces for their price. Ted has really balled out this year, and in cases has been the reason they've won games, and the offensive line is as premier and the best they come in the playoffs. Rico Dowell and Chuba Hubbard have also tailed off near the end, but they've been good at points too. Bryce Young has improved? Genuinely have no clue with that guy sometimes, but honestly, this is impossible without a guy like Dave Canales, who went into what is one of the shittiest situations in football a couple of years ago, and has turned out to make this franchise look, I wouldn't say good, but vastly improved over the last couple of years. And in comparison of trying to make trends like Cam Newton come back just to get asses in seats, he has been phenomenal as a coach there. Regardless, this team shouldn't be in here, but I suppose that's what makes them fun. I don't know a single person that's rooting for LA right now outside of maybe NFC South rivals. And, you know, that's good. This team has fans. This team has people cheering for them. Granted, it's most of the other teams in the playoffs, but people are actually wanting Carolina to win right now. Who knows, if they knock off the Rams in the playoffs, maybe this is the start of something potentially great in Carolina. And if not, I mean, you know, you made the dance. That counts for something.
How can you transform a defending champion into a migraine in 1 year's time? That was the challenge that was apparently given to the 2025 Eagles. The most ridiculous and utterly baffling case of progression by a football team since themselves 2 years ago. I'm dead serious, it's the 2023 Eagles, but with a defense that is hard carrying this offense on its back. Now, to be fair, that defense is incredible. Fangio has created a machine on that side of the ball. Practically an anti-air unit on most weeks. With a defense like that and that abundance of talent on offense, this team should be an easy Super Bowl pick. But that offense, dude, it's fucking awful. I wouldn't trust Kevin Patullo to deliver a pizza in 30 minutes, let alone coordinate an offense. Did the Eagles just forget that Saquon is Saquon? Remember when A.J. Brown was one of the most feared wideouts in football? Goddard and Smith have been productive as always, but even they've had to deal with the total misusage of their strengths. And Jalen Hurts. Oh boy. Remember when people had him as a top 5 quarterback? And I believe that too. But if you're to look at him this year, you'd be asking these people what they've been smoking. This is the 2023 Hurts. His mobility has taken a huge step back, and worse yet, so has his accuracy. This is nowhere near the Hurts that was under Kellen Moore. What even is Sirianni right now? Is he an actual quality head coach or a complete and utter hack who got carried by Howie's roster construction? The answer is in the eye of the beholder, but he started this whole mess by hiring Patullo and continually entrusting him to mangle this offense to rival that of Brian Johnson. Hell, he might even be worse than him. If it wasn't for this defense, the Eagles would be stuck in mediocrity like the rest of the pathetic NFC East. Get your shit together, boys. Fangio's unit can't hold off everyone, and if you can't wake up soon, you're going to have a very quick trip to Cancun. Or maybe your bus will crash and burn like the tush push had this season.
The Chicago Bears finally have something they have been waiting for a very long time. An offense. And under first-year coach Ben Johnson, this team has something they haven't had in a very long time as well. Postseason dreams. None of this happens, though, without the help of his new offensive line, Caleb Williams, and Ben Johnson. It seems that this trio has been the main reason as to why Chicago has been so successful this year. Going from 68 sacks this season to 23, this team is built on Caleb holding on to the ball and making plays that Ben Johnson comes up with. It is a very effective combo. Even outside of that, the weapons have been insane. When one guy goes down, another guy goes up, unless you're Amalé Zaccheaus. If Rome Odunze or DJ Moore goes down, who cares? Luther Burden and Jade Walker are right behind them. Cole Kmet's out for a bit, doesn't matter. Colson Loveland and Durham Smythe can do what he does, not to mention DeAndre Swift and Monangai have been a deadly 1-2 punch this season. This offense is elite. Unfortunately, this defense is not. They are killed by the lack of pass rush, lack of healthy bodies, and lack of almost everything. I'll give Dennis Allen credit, he's been doing the best he can with this bang-up defensive squad, but there's not much Chicago can do other than hope on the other side of the ball. However, there is one saving grace on this defensive side. Chicago finds the way to get the ball back into their hands. It's not pretty and they can't stop a cold, but they can bait turnovers. And with guys like Kevin Byard and Nashon Wright being two of the biggest guys to come up with turnovers this season, they have been the main reason that this defense has worked. Some people may say that Chicago is fraudulent or lucky. Others may say that they're one of the teams who can actually do something. In all honesty, this team goes as far as its resiliency, and 6-game winning comeback drives is pretty much all you need to know about this team. They don't give up. If you stop that offense, yeah, this is going to get very ugly, but no one has found ways to stop them this year consistently. The Ravens haven't, and the only other team to do it was the Lions in Week 2. They're the definition of giving an inch and them taking a mile. For the team, you're going to have to give them something offensively. And if you give them an inch, that inch might as well just lead to another score.
Division champs. NFC champs. The first seed in the bye week in the NFL playoffs. The best defense in football, led by studs like Julian Love, Ernest Jones, DeMarcus Lawrence, Leonard Williams, Byron Murphy having a phenomenal sophomore season, and Tariq Woolen. He too's having a very good year. And also, who could forget about Dalvin Witherspoon anchoring one side of the field? This defense is good. Mike McDonald's strat of dropping 6 backs and rushing 4 has proven to be very lethal when they can get to the quarterback. They've been incredible at generating pressure and have been consistently forcing offenses of the last 2 weeks. They forced offenses less than 200 yards. Just ignore that blip versus where Matthew Stafford just diced the defense up. They'll be just fine. The offense, I think they're just as almost, if not as reliable as their defense. Sam Darnold, he doesn't have to do much. He keeps it simple. He gets the ball to the playmakers. The best running back tandem with K9 and Zach Charbonnet. A solid receiver core with JSN in his legendary season for the Seahawks. Cooper Kupp, he's been pretty reliable too. Rashid Shaheed, phenomenal trade deadline acquisition following Torrey Horton being out for the season. Their tight end group, pretty solid too. Their offensive line has been holding its own. Hopefully with the return of Charles Cross. And he also brings Bell. Huge standout as a rookie. Special teams has been incredibly good. Jason Myers has been reliable if the offense can't punch it into the pay dirt. Rashid Shaheed, huge acquisition, often putting them back into games with his return. The Seahawks are somebody who, just because you think they're down, they're not out. Watch out. A Lombardi is coming to them soon.
Legacies will be defined, narratives will be broken, and one NFC North team has to get it past the wild card round. So please, like, comment, and subscribe, or else an NFC North team might not get past there. I don't know how, they just might not.